Hey Internet. It's me, David. Thanks for joining me for another video and a Bible review of the one that I have here in this box. But first, if you enjoy the music playing under this channel, you can download it at forloveoftheword.bandcamp.com. If you enjoy the work and the ministry of this channel, then you can check out my Patreon page where there's some extra content. And then, if you haven't picked up my book, Hearing Love, it's on Amazon, on ebook and paperback, and all those links for the music, for the Patreon, and my book will be in the description. Now, Bible review time. Thank you so much to the Lockman Foundation for providing the review copy of this 2020 New American Standard, large print, Ultrathin. Now, if you know me, I like the edge line, fancy skinned Bibles, and this is not that. I did request it in genuine leather for my channel because I don't do that fake leather stuff anymore. I should do a video on why and some of my Bibles that have torn apart in the Texas heat. Genuine leather is the lowest I'll go, but Lockman does genuine leather Bibles for a very good price point. But this is the 2020 genuine leather. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you what's changed, what hasn't changed, as far as like the format and things. I know people are gonna be like, what do you think about the 2020 New American Standard? You know, I've spent some time reading it and I enjoy it. It's a lot smoother. It still feels like the New American Standard to me, but I have so much of the 95 and I've spent the majority of the time in the 95. I don't see myself really leaving the 95 behind, especially since all my preaching Bibles are in the 95. But it's cool to have the new one to finally go through, read through some of the letters and some of the books, and I do like the flow. I really do. I don't have any complaints to it. I still feel like I'm getting used to it, honestly, if it were to be a translation that I would read more, because I'm so used to the 95. And in fact, I do prefer, like, even reading some of the older ones. I have 75 New American Standard being rebound right now that I'll see back in a month or so, and that's going to still remain one of my main Bibles. So I like all the updates that New American Standard has done, but I tend to gravitate towards the older ones myself, even though I do like the 2020. It's a nice, smooth reading Bible, and I'm excited about this for different reasons. But we'll just get into the review real quick. Again, you can see the genuine leather cover. That's really nice. It's a paste down liner, so it's not going to be super flexy as far as the cover goes, but it opens really nice and it breaks in really well over time. It was a little bit stiffer when I got it. It's a little bit less stiff now, and I expect it to loosen up like my Pit Minions did. But usually with these paste down liners, I don't get too heavy with trying to fold stuff, even though you can. I just keep it flat. It's nice for your page to be flat once in a while, you know? So anyway, you see the genuine leather cover there. See the stamping on the spine, 2020. So at least like on the shelf, it's easy to see if you get it from Lockman. Like, what's the 2020? What's the other one? Just at a glance. The paper in these is the same as the previous Lockman editions. I think a lot of us were hoping for a paper update, but it still seems like the same paper. It has that faint little bluish hue. It's just a cooler tone in the pages. Now, it is a reference Bible, but the 2020 New American Standard has a different footnote package, and I found this because I love to read footnotes. I'm not going to let go of my 95s because the footnotes in both of them are different. So I haven't really explored the footnotes in the 2020 in depth, but you know, the 95's full of awesome footnotes. I'm excited for the footnotes in the 2020 to see what new treasures are in this one. So that's one of the things I'm excited about for the translation, but I've read a little bit. Again, I enjoy it. I like it. It seems familiar. It's a little bit like, you know, I've spent so much time in these streets growing up in the Lord that here comes a New American Standard update. It's like, you know, when you move out of town and then you go visit your home again, and there's things that are like, yeah, this is familiar, but that's new, and that's kind of the way that the 2020 feels to me. So it's kind of fun to explore. I'm enjoying it. And so that's for those of you who are going to ask, like, what do you think of the 2020 translation? Like, I don't think I know enough yet to say it's awesome or it's not awesome. I'm, again, just enjoying reading it. So anyway, after the cover, after seeing the paper is the same, there's a little bit of a difference here. And I'll show you when I put the old one with the new one. But they took away the lines from the center column. I personally kind of like the lines. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, but they take them out. But I mean, whatever, it's just a change. I'm not like super put off by it. It's just a common thing. Really, one of the major things that they did was take the columns, and they're no longer verse by verse in the large print ultra thin for this particular edition. It is a paragraph format, which is honestly a little, besides the quintil, kind of unique for the New American Standard. Because of its literal nature, the people that use it usually prefer the verse by verse traditionally. And so it's harder to find options in the New American Standard that are paragraph format. Again, besides the quintil, I think this will be the only other paragraph format that I have for the New American Standard. Now, I like teaching out of verse by verse. I like doing Bible study because usually my Bible study leads to things that I'm going to teach. I like doing all that out of a verse by verse. So sit down and just read through it real snappy like is the paragraph format. And so I enjoy the paragraph formats. But when you open this up and you look at the paragraph format, you see something that you don't see very often. Unjustified text. So by that, when you're looking at this one, you can see when it comes to the end of the line of text, it doesn't all match up. So they didn't break up words to make it even, but now the columns are uneven looking. So at first glance when I opened it up, it looked off to me, and I didn't like the way that it looked. I'm like, man, why'd they change that? But I went to read it, and I like the way that it reads. So I don't like the way it looks, but I like the way that it reads, and I like not having words, chopped off and hyphenated and started at the next line. So unjustified text, they took the lines out from the center column, and it is a paragraph format. New footnotes package were some of the changes to this edition that I noticed immediately. But before I show you what I'm super excited about, what's kind of unique to this particular edition is instead of the concordance in the back, they have a NASB, Topical Index of the Old and New Testament. And so that's actually seems pretty extensive for a Bible topical index. And so sometimes I find that a little bit more helpful than just a concordance. And so you can look up different names, keywords and stuff, and it'll have scriptural references and perhaps a little tidbit or two about the words. And then after that you have the familiar introductions of the Bible all in its separate sections instead of in the back, instead of taking up space in the actual biblical text. And then you have maps, and so that's pretty cool. But here's what I'm most excited about. Go back to the text body. Here's something new. Look real hard at the pages underneath. Yeah, they ghost a little bit. But for this edition, they did line matching. And so the Allen New American Standard readers have not been line matched because Allen's not going to line match someone else's text block that they use to print their Bibles. And so that's been one of the big critiques of some of the Allen editions is there's no line matching. That's because the Lockman typeface is what Allen uses to print their New American Standards. But now Lockman's starting to line match their own stuff, so it'll trickle over to Allen and their blocks will start being line matched if they start using some of the updated stuff from Lockman that's coming out that's line matched. And so that's really exciting to me. It's line matched, so even though the paper is the same, and it still has that cool tone that seems to bleed through even just a little bit more than a warmer tone paper, you have line matching. And so it is a much better reading experience than the old large print ultra thins with the same paper. So that's one thing I'm really excited about. The other thing I'm excited about is bloop, these two little guys down here. They're the wider ribbons that are coming on most Bibles now, like the 9 or the 10 millimeters. They don't feel double-faced to me, but they're the big ones. And look, you have a red one and you have a black one. And so with just the addition of these ribbons and the line matching, I think Lockman is paying attention to what's out there, and they're making little changes. So when the 2020 New American Standard came out, you had just a few options to choose from. They've got some things out there if you want to get a 2020 New American Standard. But what I think is coming, and I haven't heard this like officially, this is just my prediction. What I think is coming is there's evidence here on this one that they're paying attention to what's out there. They are making some changes. They've always made decent Bibles, but with Thomas Nelson and the Premier Collection and the Comfort Print coming out, and then the price point that they're able to sell their Comfort Prints at is really giving Lockman a run for its money, especially now that Zondervan has been publishing New American Standard also. And so I think Lockman is beginning to notice and really step up their game with the editions that they're going to be releasing. So because of these two little things on this one, it has me really, really excited for the future. I like this Bible well enough, but I'm more excited about future editions. I'm more excited about as they continue to experiment, release more editions. I think we're going to see different typesettings from Lockman begin to come out. I think we're going to see different editions with some of the more fancy accoutrements. And so anyway, that's why I'm excited about this one, because they've shown signs of wanting to improve things. I do like their old 95, but again, there's no line matching, and the ribbons that came on it, I had to replace it. So I put these ribbons in, and I did the art gilding around the edges. But I'll open this one up so you can see the difference in the format in their older 95. Large print ultrathin covers are different. This is their calfskin edition. This is the genuine leather edition, and they don't have a calfskin in this one yet. But again, I think they're paying attention, and so I'm excited to see when they do come out with their more high-end Bibles for the 2020. I'm excited for what they come out with. I'm hopeful and looking forward to that one. But you can see the difference in the type setting here. And you'll notice all the things that I talked about, but again, while you're looking at the verse by verse, you'll see that it's not line matched. But just at a glance, I do like the typesetting of the 95 better than the new one. Don't want to knock the new one too much, because when I did read it, the unjustified text, though it looks ugly to behold, it actually read really well. And so I'm not going to knock it. It's a decent reader, and it's line matched. And so anyway, I'm going to be using the 2020, mainly because of the footnotes and just seeing the new buildings that they built up in my old neighborhood, so to speak. Here's the Zondervan Preacher's Bible. It doesn't have the references, but it's Bibles like this that I think are getting Lockman's attention, and like, okay, we got to do some cool things with the New American Standard for ourselves. And so again, I'm excited to see what's coming up, but this Preacher's Bible and the editions from Zondervan are what's going to really be giving Lockman a run for their money. And I think pulling the quality of Lockman up as they look at the little details like the ribbons and the interior gilt line on the cover and the art gilt on the pages. And I think the Zondervan pages they've been using are cooler tone compared to like the Schuyler's and the Allens, but I didn't bring any of those for this video just because they're kind of in a genre of their own. And then I'll open it up and let you see the difference. The Zondervan's the Preacher's Bible, so it's a real clear verse by verse with minimal footnotes. The formats are just completely different formats, different philosophy of use. But look at the paper. The paper on the Zondervan is much better, and these new Zondervans came out the gate just line matching everything with the Comfort Print. So I would take that Zondervan in the pulpit before I would take this Lockman in the pulpit because of the paper and the verse by verse. But again, this is a decent reader, and so I'm excited about the future with what Lockman's going to be coming out with different New American Standard editions, especially with this update. It gives them some momentum to explore some things in different reference and study Bibles, different formats for people to use, and then just all the snobby stuff that takes your Bible experience up to the next level with the nice covers and all the gilt stuff and the different ribbons. But again, thank you to Lockman for providing this for the review, and bravo to you guys for the line matching, for the ribbon changes on the new editions. I'm excited to see what y'all come out with next. And y'all, I suppose that's it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you enjoyed my mustache. Bye.